The nation's leaders will begin removing social restrictions in their national cabinet hookup tomorrow. People are being warned the process will be slow and tested at all times against any uptick in case numbers. National Affairs correspondent Greg Jennett is at Parliament House.
Australia's still on that promise for some sort of early mark tomorrow, but the bell is far from rung on social restrictions. Easing will be varied, bitsy, and take months to complete. Leaders will lay out a framework to move from stage to stage, setting out gradually increasing numbers for gatherings, indoor and out. But between each shift from stage to stage, there'll be a 4-week gap to test their effect on virus case numbers. So restrictions that took only weeks to move into will be a while clearing out of. For its part, the government here's mapping out the big economic restart. It reckons we're at stage 3 of 5, reopening the economy. Next comes rebuilding business confidence, then a major policy reset in the October budget. And often accompanied in his office by the family dog Buddy, it turns out Scott Morrison's become a member of a little-known new group, the First Movers Club, leaders of countries including Austria, Denmark, New Zealand, Greece, the Czech Republic and Israel, which have had similar success against COVID-19. They held another hookup tonight to swap notes.
With travel restrictions to remain for some time, there are concerns what will happen to the economy without immigration-driven population growth. Daniel Ziffer reports.
For those who've come across the seas, we've boundless plains to share.
Australia presents you with opportunity, and if you're hungry for the opportunity, you take it.
Born in Zimbabwe, Gracious Chithakwa is part of the migration surge that's powered the Australian economy. Her company arranges loans in Melbourne's booming western suburbs, where 550 people arrive each week.
And these are mainly represented by immigrants. So it will be interesting to see what the future looks like with any reduction in immigration.
Coronavirus is turning off the tap of new arrivals, jeopardising industries that rely on immigration.
With that tap turned off, how are we going to be, as a nation, as an economy, be able to deal with that reduced demand?
An astonishing 10% of our population flew here in the past decade. It's made Australia a multicultural marvel and far outstrips countries like Italy, the USA and Japan. But that huge growth has papered over the cracks in our economy.
All those sort of hard and difficult decisions were sort of pushed to the back burner as this population growth was really strong and sort of just helped the economy keep ticking over.
We've benefited as a society and as an economy. The global financial crisis was 12 years ago. Without our immigration surge, we'd have gone into recession several times since then. It's one of the reasons demographers expect continued arrivals once flights resume.
I suspect we're headed for a nation-building scheme similar to that we experienced post-World War II. Australia will need to literally rebuild.
There's no one special. As long as you've got the skills and what it takes, opportunities are there.
Something we can all rejoice in. Daniel Ziffer, ABC News, Melbourne.
From this Sunday, households of up to 5 people will be allowed to visit their families in Queensland as the Premier eases more coronavirus restrictions. But lifting the lockdown won't mean an end to social distancing or the support measures put in place, like the Coronavirus Care Army, whose recent work may have saved the life of a vulnerable Queenslander. Here's Alison Horn.
Police!
It's just the police, Erica.
All right, Erica.
Break the door.
An urgent rescue for a Queenslander in need.
Yes, it's the police, Erica. Can you tell me what's happened? You've fallen down? A few days ago.
80-year-old Erica Freingruber had been trapped in her home with a broken hip.
Don't drink too much, just little small drinks, okay?
Brought to the attention of police when a volunteer from the Coronavirus Care Army couldn't reach her.
It rang alarm bells because she'd been so mentally alert that, I was worried that this was out of the ordinary for her.
Good morning, Erica.
Good morning.
How are you?
The Beaudesert local is now recovering in hospital.
If you wouldn't have come, I don't think I'd be sitting here.
No, No, that's true.
The doctor said to me, every doctor who came here, they said, you don't know how lucky you are.
She says she spent 4 days trapped before her rescue.
In the end, I win. I'm still alive.
It just shows you this is Queensland's story and that Queensland cares. And I think, Paul, as the Premier said, we are so proud of you.
The compliments were shared wider, with just 2 Queenslanders testing positive for coronavirus overnight, prompting the Premier to loosen more restrictions. From Sunday, up to 5 members of one household will be able to visit another family.
It's about 2 households coming together, and we don't think that will increase risk.
As long as they still keep some of their distance.
It's a good idea to just delay those hugs till we get all through this.
With reduced coronavirus rates, the Premier is confident more restrictions will be eased soon, likely to start with the reopening of cafes and restaurants. Those details will be finalised at tomorrow's National Cabinet, so expect some more news across the weekend. Alison Horn, ABC News, Brisbane.
The Newmarch aged care home in Western Sydney will remain open after the operator Anglicare avoided losing its licence. It met today's deadline to hire an external advisor and says residents and families should now feel reassured about safety at the facility. 16 residents have died after contracting coronavirus. Today, 3 more staff tested positive.
Like the many families of Newmarch, Elizabeth Lane is anxious to see her mum.
She's been a bit out of sorts the last couple of days, according to the reports that I've had.
After a brief visit, from a distance, relief.
It was nice to sort of have a chat and cheer her up and jolly her along a bit, and it's nice to know she's still been difficult for the staff because it means she's still very much herself.
The Aged Care Quality Commission had warned Anglicare could lose its licence to operate Newmarch, finding there was an immediate and severe risk to residents.
I'm relieved if the regulators come in and has now put them on notice about revoking their licence. That's a good thing.
Anglicare has appointed an external advisor from Catholic Healthcare for the next 3 months.
At least there'll be transparency and every family will have all the information on the table.
At an inquiry, health officials have defended their role and revealed when they took action. A staff member unwittingly brought the virus into Newmarch sometime between the 30th of March and the 6th of April, but was only confirmed positive 5 days later. On the 12th of April, an infectious diseases specialist was deployed. It helped fight another outbreak at Dorothy Henderson Lodge. From then, residents were tested every 3 days. From Monday, staff were swabbed before every shift, but Anglicare now says that'll happen every 2nd day.
Incubation period is up to 14 days, so what we're seeing now may reflect infection that's occurred many days ago.
Anglicare says the external advisor will help resolve the issues expeditiously. Residents and families should be reassured, it says, by the additional expertise.
It's a good thing to have another pair of eyes in there, for sure.
But that's not enough for some. 2 residents have already moved out. Jessie Dorset, ABC News, Sydney.
The Ruby Princess has arrived in the Philippines carrying hundreds of crew who now face further uncertainty. The ship became Australia's biggest source of coronavirus cases after it was allowed to dock in Sydney in March. At a New South Wales parliamentary inquiry, the opposition suggested the state would be leading the world if it wasn't for flawed bureaucratic decisions about the Ruby Princess and aged care.
There are thousands of people, tens of thousands of people who've died across the world. New South Wales Health has done an extraordinary job. The frontline staff, the public health staff and the entire system. And all I'm hearing is deprecatory comments, loaded political questions.
It's unclear whether the crew will be allowed to disembark or wait in further quarantine on board. Germany has announced it will begin lifting restrictions as coronavirus rates there continue to slow. German schools, restaurants and hotels will be able to reopen in coming weeks. And the second division of Germany's soccer league, the Bundesliga, will resume play under strict rules. Britain's death toll has passed 30,000, the highest recorded in Europe. And the European Union has declared the pandemic recession will be the worst in EU history, with predictions the economy will contract by 7.5% this year.